In peace I will lie down and sleep. For you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety. Psalm 4:8. The night has come quietly, and the world has slowed its breath. The noise of the day fades, and what remains is the gentle rhythm of your own heart, still beating beneath the watchful eye of your Creator. You are not alone. The one who formed the stars has not forgotten your name. His light does not fade with the sunset. It only softens, waiting to calm your restless soul. Have you ever wondered why the night feels so heavy? Perhaps it is because silence reveals what sound can hide. Your fears, your memories, your longing to be held by something greater than yourself. Yet even here, in this sacred quiet, God is near. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. Psalm 121:8. His presence fills the room, unseen but undeniable, like the warmth of a gentle fire beside you. Close your eyes for a moment. Let your shoulders release their burden. The day has done all it can, and now it surrenders to peace. You too can surrender. You can rest, because the one who holds the universe in his hands also holds you. Every care, every thought, every ache of your spirit. He gathers them tenderly one by one, until only stillness remains. He's been waiting for this moment, just to speak to you, to remind you that you are safe, not because the world is calm, but because He is your refuge. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. Psalm 121:5-6. These are not distant promises. They are the heartbeat of His love, steady and sure through every shadow. If your heart has been whispering for peace, you're not here by accident. Tonight is holy ground, a space where heaven bends low to touch your weary mind. Let this truth rest upon you. You are seen, you are loved, and you are protected. Nothing can slip past the watchful eyes of the shepherd who never sleeps. The darkness around you is not a threat. It is a canvas where His light begins to paint again. Every star above your window sings of His faithfulness. Every breath you take is grace renewed. You are safe now, not because you are strong, but because He is. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. Psalm 91:4. So breathe deeply, beloved soul. Let go of the noise within and listen, for the whisper of peace is near. You have made it through this day. Now God invites you to rest in His arms, where fear loses its voice and faith begins to dream. This is where your story of rest begins. This is where peace takes you home. Chapter 1. The Promise of Rest. There are moments when the heart feels like a traveler who has walked too far. The body may find a bed, yet the soul keeps wandering, searching for peace it cannot name. Tonight, that search ends here. For the voice of Jesus still whispers through the ages, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Matthew 11:28. His invitation is not for the strong, but for the tired ones, the ones who have carried too much for too long. Imagine His presence now, gentle, familiar, like a warm breeze through open windows. The air feels lighter because He is near. He does not demand that you fix what is broken. He simply asks you to come as you are. Lay down your striving, your endless self-repair, your silent doubts. In His presence, the weary are not judged. They are comforted. The noise of the world softens into holy quiet. There is a kind of rest that sleep alone cannot give, a stillness that only God can create. It begins when you stop running from what hurts and start leaning into His love. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. These ancient words carry a promise that never expires. You are guided even when you feel lost. You're seen even when unseen by all others. Let your mind slow down like the tide receding from the shore. Every thought that rises, every memory that stirs, give it to him. He knows them already. You are not failing by feeling tired. You are simply human, and he delights in holding what you cannot carry. His rest is not escape, but restoration. Each breath becomes a prayer of trust, a return to peace. Picture Jesus sitting by the sea at dusk, the sky painted with soft fire. He looks toward you, not with reproach, but with recognition. He knows the roads you have walked, the prayers you have whispered half in faith and half in fear. His eyes say, "You are safe now." The waves hush as if listening, and even creation seems to breathe slower in his presence. When you surrender to his rest, something changes inside you. You begin to remember that peace is not earned, it is given. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. Psalm 23:2-3. This is not poetic comfort. It is divine reality. Your rest tonight is the proof that he still leads you home. Now close your eyes and let your heartbeat align with heaven's rhythm. Let every breath whisper gratitude. You do not need to understand tomorrow. You only need to rest in the one who holds it. The world may turn, but your spirit can stay still. His peace is the pillow beneath your thoughts, his love the blanket that covers your heart. And as night deepens, remember this truth. God's rest is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of healing. Sleep then in the arms of the one who neither slumbers nor forgets. He will watch over you as dawn prepares its first light. You are home in his presence. You are safe in his promise of rest. Chapter 2. Safe in his hands. There is a quiet assurance that comes when you finally stop fighting the unknown. You have done what you could today. Now it is time to rest in what he can do. The same hands that shape the heavens are the ones that cradle your life tonight. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. Psalm 91:4. You are not exposed to chaos, you are hidden in love. Think of a child resting in the arms of a father. No explanations are needed, no proofs demanded. The comfort is in the closeness itself. That is how God watches over you, not from a distance but near enough to feel your heartbeat. Every breath you take is a reminder that his protection is constant, even when unseen. His care does not sleep, it surrounds. You may not see angels, yet they stand guard in silence. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. Psalm 91:11. These are not tales from ancient scrolls. They are truths still alive. Heaven's watch is not folklore, it is faith's reality. When fear whispers its lies, remember this. You are never unwatched, never unguarded, never alone. There are nights when shadows seem louder than light, but the shadows only exist because light is near. God's protection does not always remove the darkness. Sometimes it teaches you to see differently within it. His peace becomes a lamp that glows quietly, enough to guide your next step, enough to remind your heart that morning always follows midnight. Close your eyes and picture his wings, vast, gentle, radiant. You are beneath them now. Every worry begins to lose its strength. Every anxious thought fades beneath the weight of divine calm. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. Psalm 121:5. He shields you from what would overwhelm. His love builds walls that no fear can cross. There are storms that you cannot still, but you were never asked to. You were asked to trust. Even when the wind howls, he whispers peace. Even when you cannot see the way forward, his hand leads you through unseen paths. This is safety, not in the absence of struggle, but in the certainty of his presence. Rest in that truth tonight. Breathe slowly. The night air is cool, the world quiet. God's Spirit hovers over you, just as it did over the waters before creation began. You are covered by eternity's care. There is no danger that slips past his gaze, no tear that escapes his notice. The universe turns because he wills it, and within that will, you are safe. So sleep now, under the shelter of his mercy. The stars above are watchmen of his faithfulness. The silence around you, a song of his peace. Fear has no claim here. You rest not in luck, but in love. Tomorrow will rise as it always does, but tonight know this: you are held, securely, gently, forever, safe in his hands. Chapter 3. The Still Waters. Sometimes peace feels like a distant shore, visible yet unreachable. The heart wants to rest, but the waves inside it refuse to calm. Tonight you do not need to swim toward peace. Peace is coming to you. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. Psalm 23:2-3. This is not a promise for someone else. It is for you, here and now, in the quiet of this night. Imagine the sound of gentle water flowing nearby, soft and steady. The shepherd walks before you, guiding your steps away from noise and fear. His pace is slow enough for your soul to breathe again. The world rushes, but he never does. His way is rhythm, not race. The still waters he offers are not around you. They begin within you. The Lord knows how tired the mind can become. The thoughts that loop endlessly, the worries that wait for darkness to speak louder. But just as he spoke to the storm and said, "Peace, be still," Mark 4:39, he now speaks to the storm inside you. His authority does not fade with time. The waves obey his voice, and so can your heart. Every drop of water that touches the shore tonight carries the reflection of his patience. Stillness is not emptiness. It is fullness, under control. It is the place where faith breathes easily and trust no longer trembles. You do not have to earn this calm. It is his gift. Let it reach you. Let his Spirit quiet every restless corner of your being. Remember how David sang of this shepherd's care, how he found peace not in palaces but in pastures. The same God who comforted him watches over you now. He restores, renews, and revives. You are not broken beyond repair. You are being remade gently with every slow heartbeat. He refreshes my life. He guides me along the right paths. Psalm 23:3. Close your eyes and listen. The world outside may sleep, but heaven stays awake. The still waters of grace flow around your soul, washing away the residue of worry. You are not behind in life. You are being led in perfect time. God's peace is not fragile. It stands like a mountain wrapped in mist, soft to the touch, strong to the core. Let the night become your sanctuary. Let the air feel like prayer. The shepherd's hand rests upon your shoulder, and suddenly, the future does not feel so heavy. There is no need to understand where the path leads. The destination tonight is not a place, but a person. The one who knows your every fear and still calls you his own. As you drift into sleep, imagine your soul lying beside those still waters. The ripples fade. The stars reflect on the calm surface. And in that holy silence, peace whispers its name again. You are restored, renewed, and remembered. The shepherd has led you home. Rest now. Your heart is safe by the still waters. Chapter 4. Trust without seeing. There are nights when faith feels like walking through fog, every step uncertain, every path dim. You wish you could see the outcome, trace the plan, hold the proof. Yet peace was never meant to come from knowing. It was meant to come from trusting. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 3:5. That is the doorway to quiet confidence. Abraham once stood beneath a sky of countless stars, and God promised him a future he could not yet see. He had no map, only a voice and a covenant. Still, he walked forward, not by sight, but by faith. Tonight, you walk that same road. Every unseen step is watched. Every uncertain choice is known. And through it all, you are guided by a hand that never lets go. You have spent much of life trying to control what cannot be held. Plans change, people leave, the road bends where you thought it would be straight. But when you release the illusion of control, peace enters quietly. Trust does not mean understanding everything. It means believing that God already does. His wisdom stands where your reasoning ends. There is beauty in surrender, not weakness, but courage disguised as stillness. When you stop forcing outcomes, you make room for miracles. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. Proverbs 3:6. The path of peace is not paved by certainty, but by communion. God's direction rarely shouts. It whispers through obedience. Imagine yourself walking through a field under moonlight. The way ahead is soft, almost hidden, yet you keep moving. There is no rush, no fear, only trust. The same God who painted the stars above you now lights your next step. You don't need to see the whole horizon to know he's there. Faith is the lamp that burns in his presence. Breathe deeply. Feel how the night itself trusts its rhythm. Dusk giving way to dawn without worry. You too were made for that rhythm. Worry disturbs what trust restores. God has already written tomorrow's peace into your story. Your only task tonight is to rest in that truth. He has gone before you. He will not abandon what he began. Let your mind unclench its grip on answers. You are not lost. You are being led. The fog may hide the view, but not the guide. The shepherd walks before you, sure-footed and calm. Each breath you take is an act of faith, each heartbeat a quiet yes to his will. You are safe between promise and fulfillment. As sleep comes, let this be your final thought. Faith does not close its eyes in fear. It closes them in trust. God's light is already ahead, waiting for you to awaken to it. The journey continues, but tonight, the lesson is simple and divine. You can rest without seeing, because the one who sees all holds you close. Chapter 5. The peace Jesus gives. There is a kind of peace this world cannot offer. A peace untouched by noise, unbroken by loss, unmoved by fear. It comes not from circumstances, but from the heart of Christ himself. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. John 14:27. These words were spoken on the eve of his suffering, and yet they carried the fragrance of calm. His peace is not fragile. It is eternal. You have searched for quiet in many places, in music, in distraction, in the approval of others. But true peace is not found by running away from the storm. It is found by inviting Jesus into it. He does not wait for your life to be orderly to bring you rest. He walks into your chaos with steady steps, and suddenly what was overwhelming begins to still. His presence changes the atmosphere. When Jesus stood before the frightened disciples after the resurrection, his first words were, "Peace be with you." John 20:19. Not correction, not explanation, peace. Because he knew what fear does to the heart, how easily we forget we are loved. His peace restores identity before it restores circumstances. It reminds you that nothing broken is beyond his repair. Think of how he calmed the sea with a word, not by effort, but by authority. That same authority speaks tonight. The waves in your thoughts, the winds in your emotions, all bow to his command. Be still, he says again, not only to the storm around you, but to the one within. Peace is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of order under his voice. Let yourself rest in that authority. You don't have to hold everything together. The one who commands the sea also holds your heart. Even when life feels unpredictable, his peace remains unchanged. The world's peace is temporary. His peace is alive, breathing strength into your weariness. It will guard you while you sleep, like a watchman who never blinks. Close your eyes now and imagine his presence beside you, calm, radiant, compassionate. The air itself feels softer. Fear begins to lose its color. He is not a distant savior, but a near friend. His peace is the space between every anxious thought, the pause between every breath. Let him fill that space until nothing remains but stillness. Every night is a new invitation to receive, not to perform. You do not need to earn his peace. It is your inheritance. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and give you peace. Numbers 6:24-26. This blessing was meant for you long before you asked. It was written into your story by hands that never fail. As you drift into rest, remember, his peace is not something you visit. It is where you belong. The night may be dark, but his light never dims. Every breath you take is a reminder that heaven has already spoken over you. Peace and peace again. Sleep within that promise. You are safe. You are loved. You are held in the peace Jesus gives. Chapter 6. The Light in the Night. There are evenings when darkness feels heavier than usual, when the silence of the room carries echoes of doubt and unseen fears. But even in such hours, God has not withdrawn his light. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Psalm 27:1. His brightness may not blind the night away, but it gently glows within it, guiding you step by trembles in its warmth. The night cannot consume what heaven protects. His light is not a flare of escape, but a steady flame of presence, reminding your heart that darkness has limits, but his love does not. You may not see the path clearly, but you do not need to. God's light is not a floodlight showing the entire road. It is a lamp for your feet and a light for your path. Psalm 119:105. It reveals only what is necessary, moment by moment. That is how faith grows, not by seeing everything, but by trusting the light that never lies. The next step is always enough. Think of how Jesus stood on the Mount of Transfiguration, his face shining brighter than the sun. The disciples fell silent, overwhelmed by the radiance. That same glory, now veiled in gentleness, watches over you tonight. It does not shout, it does not startle, it simply stays. Light does not need to prove itself, it just is. And so is his love. There is light even in your memories, where he was present though unseen. Every rescue, every quiet mercy, every moment you survived what should have broken you, all of it was his glow through the cracks. When you remember those moments, you find courage again. The same God who carried you then still walks beside you now. His constancy is your comfort. Close your eyes and picture a candle flickering beside your bed. The flame moves gently, alive yet calm. That is what his spirit feels like. Alive within you, guiding without force. Even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day. Psalm 139:12. God wastes nothing, not even the dark. He turns it into canvas for his glory. Breathe deeply and let the warmth of his light fill your chest. The fear that once seemed endless begins to fade. You realize that the night is not an enemy. It is a classroom for trust. The stars above are not distant. They are reminders, fragments of his promise scattered across the sky. His faithfulness is written in every shimmer. As sleep draws near, remember this. The light that watches you now is not far away. It is within you. The world may sleep, but heaven remains awake. Rest knowing that your soul is wrapped in brilliance the night cannot touch. You are not lost in the dark. You are held in the light of the Lord. Chapter 7. Be still and know. There comes a moment when words no longer help, when explanations exhaust the heart and silence feels like the only honest prayer. In that moment, God speaks most clearly. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Stillness is not the absence of life. It is the awareness of His presence. It is where striving ends and trust begins. Elijah once stood on a mountain, desperate for a sign. A mighty wind tore through the rocks, then an earthquake, then fire. But God was not in any of them. Then came a gentle whisper, and there He was. 1 Kings 19:11-12. That same whisper now reaches you through the quiet of this night. He does not need thunder to make Himself known. His voice is enough. You have carried much noise within you, the kind that doesn't come from the outside world, but from your own thoughts. Tonight, let it settle. You do not need to solve or fix anything. Stillness is not idleness. It is surrender. It is the sacred pause where you remember who He is and who you are not. Peace flows in the space where control releases. The stillness of God is powerful because it reminds you that He reigns without hurry. The universe moves by His word, and yet He is never rushed. You can rest because nothing depends on your constant motion. In repentance and rest is your salvation. In quietness and trust is your strength. Isaiah 30:15. Strength does not always roar. Sometimes it breathes softly. Close your eyes and feel how silence holds its own kind of rhythm. The world outside may sleep, but heaven hums a quiet melody of faithfulness. The Spirit moves not in chaos but in calm. Every breath you take is an act of worship. Every heartbeat is a drum echoing His name. This is what it means to dwell in peace, to simply be with Him. Let the tension melt from your shoulders. Let the stillness enter the spaces where fear once lived. God is not waiting for perfection. He is waiting for presence. He does not need many words, only your willingness to listen. The night becomes holy when your heart stops running and begins resting in His nearness. Remember, even Jesus sought solitude. He withdrew to quiet hills to pray, to listen, to be renewed. The Son of God knew that silence is not emptiness, it is conversation. In that stillness, heaven and earth meet again. You are not forgotten, you are being formed in the quiet. Stillness is God's classroom for faith. As you drift towards sleep, let this truth anchor you. Stillness is not a pause in life. It is life returning to its divine rhythm. You do not need to strive to be loved. You only need to be still and know. The night is sacred, the silence is safe, and your soul is home. Rest now, child of God, for His whisper will watch over you until morning. Chapter 8. The God Who Provides. There are nights when uncertainty presses close, when tomorrow feels fragile and questions echo louder than peace. In those moments, remember this: God has never failed to provide. And my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of His glory in Christ Jesus. Philippians 4:19. His provision is not always seen in advance, but it always arrives on time. When Israel wandered the desert hungry and fearful, heaven responded with manna. It did not fall in abundance for weeks ahead, only enough for each day. Yet that daily bread was holy, shaped by mercy. The same God who fed them then is feeding your hope now. He does not withhold. He teaches trust. Dependence becomes the doorway to peace. You were not created to carry the burden of scarcity. The world teaches you to grasp, but faith teaches you to open your hands. Each gift from God, seen or unseen, begins with surrender. When you let go of control, you make space for His generosity to flow. His provision is more than food or finances. It is everything your soul needs to rest. Remember how Jesus lifted 5 loaves and 2 fish toward heaven. Gratitude came before multiplication. He looked up to heaven, gave thanks, and broke the loaves. Matthew 14:19. The miracle began not with abundance, but with thanksgiving. What you have tonight is already enough in His hands. Gratitude turns scarcity into song. Take a breath and let your heart count quiet blessings. The roof above you, the air you breathe, the unseen grace that carried you through this day. These are signs of divine care. Provision is not always dramatic. Often it arrives disguised as ordinary peace. God provides strength for what you face, not always answers for what you fear. There are seasons when you see little, yet He is most active. The soil hides the seed until the time is right. So it is with His plans for you. What feels like lack may only be preparation for growth. Trust the timing of your provider. His silence is not absence, it is cultivation. The harvest will come, and it will come in grace. Let your worries rest now. The shepherd knows what tomorrow holds. The same voice that said, "Do not worry about your life. Your heavenly Father knows what you need." Matthew 6:25-32 speaks that truth again tonight. You are not forgotten in the details, you are cherished in them. God's care is constant, measured perfectly for your heart. As sleep approaches, release the fear of not having enough. You have all you need for this night, His peace, His presence, His promise. Rest, knowing that the one who fed the multitudes still sustains you. Morning will bring new mercies, just as surely as the dawn. You are provided for, you are protected, you are loved by the God who provides. Chapter 9. Forgiveness that frees. There are weights too heavy for the heart to carry, regrets that linger, words unsaid, wounds unhealed. Yet forgiveness is the key that opens every locked door within you. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you. Ephesians 4:32. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is releasing yourself from the chain that memory forged. Joseph once stood before the brothers who betrayed him, men who sold him into slavery and thought he was gone forever. But instead of vengeance, he chose mercy. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. Genesis 50:20. That single act broke generations of pain. True peace begins the moment you stop waiting for an apology and start choosing freedom. Holding on to anger feels like protection, but it quietly poisons the spirit. God never meant for you to live imprisoned by resentment. When you forgive, you do not excuse the wrong. You declare that it no longer defines you. The cross itself is proof that love can outlive betrayal. Mercy is the language of those who have seen grace up close. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself. You replay mistakes, thinking guilt will somehow repay the debt. But grace already paid it. Jesus whispered from the cross, "It is finished." John 19:30. That includes your failures. You are not what you've done, you are who He calls you, redeemed, renewed, restored. The past has no authority over a forgiven soul. Close your eyes and picture releasing a heavy stone you've carried too long. Hear it fall softly into the river of God's mercy. The water moves on, carrying it far away, never to return. That is what forgiveness feels like. Not denial, but deliverance. Peace fills the space where bitterness once lived. You begin to breathe again. To forgive is to trust God with justice. It is to believe that His ways are higher, His healing deeper. The hands that shaped your heart are capable of mending what others broke. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. Luke 6:28. It sounds impossible, yet in that obedience heaven touches earth and chains dissolve in love. As the night settles, let every thought of anger melt into grace. You have nothing to prove, nothing to repay. Forgiveness is not a weakness. It is divine strength flowing through human hearts. It is how God turns wounds into wisdom, tears into testimony. The same Spirit that forgave through Christ now lives in you. Rest now in that truth. You are free. The past no longer whispers your name. The Father's love has rewritten your story with mercy. Sleep in peace, knowing that forgiveness has finished its holy work. The night will cradle you softly, and your heart will awaken lighter. This is the beauty of grace, forgiveness that frees. Chapter 10. The Shepherd's Voice. There is a sound that cuts through confusion, not loud, not demanding, but unmistakably kind. It is the voice of the shepherd calling your name. My sheep listen to my voice. I know them, and they follow me. John 10:27. You may not always recognize it at first, yet your soul does. It is the voice that has guided you through storms you did not even know you could survive. The world speaks in noise, promises, distractions, fears, all competing for your attention. But God's voice does not shout over chaos. It invites you into quiet. His words are not rushed or forced. They come like wind through trees, steady and true. To hear him, you do not need to try harder. You need to be still enough to remember what peace sounds like. Sometimes the shepherd speaks through scripture, sometimes through silence, sometimes through a moment that feels like coincidence but isn't. Every word he speaks carries life. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Matthew 4:4. When your heart is hungry for direction, his voice becomes your nourishment. Think of how a shepherd walks before his flock, never behind, never pushing, always leading. He does not drive his sheep, he draws them. So it is with God. He does not force you toward his will, he invites you. Every step you take in trust tunes your heart more closely to his tone. Fear fades where familiarity grows. Perhaps you have followed voices that led you astray, the pull of worry, the echo of regret, the whisper of self-doubt. But even there, his call reaches deeper. He does not scold the lost, he searches for them. If a man has 100 sheep and one of them wanders away, he goes and looks for the one that wandered off. Matthew 18:12. That is how deeply he values you. You can rest tonight knowing you are not forgotten in the wilderness. The shepherd's staff guides and protects. His rod comforts and corrects. You are safe in his direction. The same voice that spoke the world into being still speaks to your heart now, calling it home, calling it whole. There is nothing too far, too broken, too late for his reach. Close your eyes and imagine his presence beside you, the calm certainty of someone who knows the way. The wind quiets. The path feels lighter beneath your feet. His voice is not behind you, urging haste. It is before you, inviting trust. You follow not out of fear, but because love leads. That is the secret of peace. As you drift towards sleep, let your spirit rest in recognition. The shepherd's voice does not fade with nightfall. It watches, it sings, it stays. Even in dreams, his guidance surrounds you like a melody. You are known, you are led, you are loved. The shepherd still speaks, and his voice will lead you safely into morning. Chapter 11. The Anchor of Hope. There are nights when the soul drifts like a ship in open sea, carried by unseen tides of worry and memory. But even then, God gives you something to hold, hope. We have this hope as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure. Hebrews 6:19. It does not stop the waves, but it keeps you from being lost among them. Hope ties you to his promise when everything else feels uncertain. Paul once faced a storm at sea. the ship breaking apart, the crew terrified. Yet he stood and declared, "Keep up your courage, for I have faith in God that it will happen just as he told me." Acts 27-25. His anchor was not in the ship, but in the word spoken over him. That same anchor steadies you now. God's promises do not sink. Hope does not erase pain, it transforms it. It whispers that every night will meet its morning, that every loss will one day make sense in the light of grace. You may not see the full picture, but hope reminds you that God does. His plans do not fail halfway. They hold, even when your hands grow tired of holding on. Sometimes hope feels small, just a spark beneath the ashes. But even a spark can survive the wind. The smallest faith can carry the heaviest soul. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, Matthew 17:20. Jesus said that seed could move mountains. Tonight that mountain might be despair, but it will move under his hand. Hope is stronger than fear. Let your heart imagine itself anchored deep beneath the waves, not drifting, not lost, but secured in love. The waters above may churn, yet below it is calm. That is how God holds you. His peace is deeper than the storm's noise. You may tremble, but your foundation does not. The rope between you and heaven never loosens. There will be days when hope feels distant, when faith feels like reaching through fog. Yet God's faithfulness is not a feeling, it is fact. The Lord is good to those whose hope is in him. Lamentations 3:25. Even when you doubt, he remains constant. Even when you let go, he still holds. His patience is the harbor where your heart can rest. As you breathe, think of the anchors in your life, the quiet prayers, the people who love you, the scriptures that carried you through. All of these are threads of divine care, woven to remind you that you're never adrift. Hope is not the absence of storms, it's the assurance that storms cannot win. You are tethered to eternity. Sleep now with peace as your pillow and hope as your anchor. The wind may rise, but you will not be swept away. The hand that steadies the stars steadies you too. Tomorrow's light will come, and with it, new strength. For tonight, rest in this truth. Your hope is anchored in a God who never lets go. Chapter 12, The Power of Gratitude. Gratitude is the doorway through which peace enters. When your heart begins to thank instead of strive, everything changes. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. 1 Thessalonians 5:18. Thanksgiving does not depend on everything being perfect. It is the act of seeing grace where others see lack. Gratitude turns ordinary moments into holy ones. There were 10 lepers who called out to Jesus for mercy. He healed them all, yet only one returned to give thanks. Luke 17-12-19. That one received more than healing. He received wholeness. Gratitude deepens every blessing. It completes the circle of grace, from God's giving to your acknowledging. When you thank him, you make room for more of his presence. You may feel that there is little to be grateful for tonight, but pause, breathe, and look again. The very breath you take is a gift. The heart that beats quietly in your chest is grace repeating itself. The roof above you, the stars outside, the unseen ways you've been carried. These are threads of divine kindness woven through your life. When you practice gratitude, fear loses its voice. Anxiety feeds on what's missing, but thankfulness feeds on what's already here. You cannot worry and give thanks at the same time. One silences the other. The psalmist wrote, "Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise." Psalm 104. Gratitude is how you step into his presence, not by force, but by love. Think of Jesus breaking bread before the cross. He gave thanks even as he faced suffering. Gratitude does not deny pain, it transforms it. It reminds your soul that God is still working even in the dark. The table of life may hold both bitter and sweet, but thanksgiving blesses them both. That is the power of a heart that remembers. As you lie in bed, let your thoughts become prayers of appreciation. Thank Him for what stayed when other things left. Thank Him for the lessons hidden inside delays. Thank Him for being constant in a world that changes too fast. Gratitude lifts the spirit from worry to worship, from surviving to resting. It fills the silence with joy. Every thank you you whisper tonight plants a seed. Those seeds will bloom in tomorrow's light. Patience, trust, peace. The Lord has done great things for us, and we are filled with joy. Psalm 126:3. Gratitude prepares your soul for abundance. It aligns your heart with heaven's rhythm, where everything flows from grace. So before sleep takes you, count not your troubles, but your mercies. They are many, though the day may have felt long. Each one is proof that God has never stopped caring for you. Let your final breath tonight be one of thanks. Gratitude will cradle you softly, and by morning your spirit will awaken light, renewed by the power of thanksgiving. Chapter 13. The Healing Presence. There are wounds that time cannot touch, quiet aches that live deep within the soul, yet even those places are not beyond God's reach. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147:3. Healing is not always sudden. Often it comes like sunrise, slowly, gently, faithfully. God's presence is not a quick remedy. It is steady restoration. When Jesus walked among the sick and weary, He did not rush them. He touched eyes, hands, and hearts with patience. Each miracle began with compassion, not power. His healing was never just physical. It was personal. He saw the whole person, body, mind, and spirit, and He still does. The same tenderness that moved through Galilee moves toward you tonight. You may feel broken in ways no one else can see. Perhaps your wounds are invisible, betrayal, loss, or the heaviness of things unspoken. But even in silence, God's Spirit moves like balm on weary skin. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. Healing begins not when pain disappears, but when presence enters. The woman who touched the hem of Jesus' garment knew this truth. She did not need His attention, she only needed His nearness. If I just touch His cloak, I will be healed. Matthew 9:21. Her faith reached before her hands did, and the moment she touched Him, she was made whole. That same nearness surrounds you, healing quietly, faithfully, as you rest. Sometimes God's healing looks like peace replacing panic, or tears turning into prayer. Sometimes it looks like strength to rise again after falling apart. The process may not match your expectations, but it always fulfills His promise. Healing is not the absence of scars, it is the transformation of them into stories of grace. Take a slow breath and feel His presence now, not distant, but close. The air itself seems to hum with love. The pain that once felt unbearable begins to soften. You do not need to fight for this moment. Simply receive it. God is not far from the hurting. His comfort does not come later. It begins right here where you are. Let His peace wrap around you like linen, covering what the world has torn. Surely He took up our pain and bore our suffering. Isaiah 53:4. Every sorrow has already been carried. Every tear has already been counted. What remains is the quiet work of restoration. Your heart learning again what wholeness feels like in His care. As the night deepens, rest in the assurance that the healer is near. You are not a collection of broken pieces. You are a story still being completed. His hands are upon you, gentle and sure, shaping you back into peace. Sleep under the warmth of His mercy. The healing has already begun, and by morning your soul will feel lighter in His love. Chapter 14. the gift of surrender. There are battles that were never meant to be fought alone. The weight of trying to control every outcome can exhaust even the strongest heart. But peace begins where control ends. In the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus knelt beneath the weight of the world and whispered, "Not my will, but yours be done." Luke 22:42. Surrender was not his defeat, it was his victory. We are taught to hold on, to push harder, to make things happen. Yet the kingdom of God works differently. It invites us to release, not resist. To surrender is not to give up, but to give over, to place everything in the hands that never fail. When you let go of what you cannot change, you open your life to what God can transform. Think of the olive trees that surrounded Jesus as he prayed, their branches twisted by time, yet still bearing fruit. Surrender looks like that, rooted, yielding, still alive. The crushing of olives produces oil, and the crushing of the heart releases faith. What feels like loss may only be preparation for greater anointing. God works most powerfully through what we yield. It is not easy to trust when prayers seem unanswered, when the night grows long and silence feels heavy. But remember, surrender is not silence. It is confidence. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him, and he will act. Psalm 37:5. The moment you stop wrestling for control, heaven begins to move in unseen ways. The still heart sees clearer than the striving one. There is beauty in giving God your unfinished story. You do not need to understand every page before handing him the pen. The one who began the story knows how to end it well. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. Philippians 1:6. Surrender does not erase desire, it aligns it with divine purpose. That alignment is peace. Close your eyes and imagine laying your burdens before the cross, not with fear, but with relief. Every worry, every decision, every dream, all placed gently at his feet. You do not lose anything by surrendering, you only lose the illusion of control. What you gain is rest. What you find is freedom. What you feel is the soft weight of his grace. When you surrender, you begin to see life through heaven's rhythm. Less striving, more trusting, less forcing, more flowing. You start to recognize that even delays are divine design. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Psalm 37:7. His timing is never late. His will is never cruel. He leads through peace, not pressure. So as night falls, release what you cannot carry into the hands that carried the cross. Let his will become your rest, his plan your pillow, his presence your calm. Surrender is not the end of your strength. It is the beginning of his. Sleep deeply tonight, not because you've solved everything, but because you've given it all to God. Chapter 15. When God is silent. There are seasons when heaven seems still, when prayers echo back unanswered, and the heart wonders if it's been forgotten. Yet silence is not absence. It is often preparation. How long, Lord? Will you forget me forever? Psalm 13:1 cried David. But even in that ache, faith endured. God's quiet does not mean he has turned away. It means he is working in ways unseen. Job knew that silence well. After losing everything, he sat among ashes, questioning but never abandoning his faith. He said, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him." Job 13:15. Even in the void, he clung to the character of God. Silence can feel cruel, yet it is the classroom of deeper trust. It is where love matures and faith learns to breathe without proof. We often crave answers, but God offers himself instead. His silence teaches us that presence is greater than explanation. He may not tell you why, but he stays beside you through every moment of confusion. The same God who spoke worlds into existence can also heal through stillness. His quiet hands are shaping your unseen redemption. There are times when even Jesus felt the Father's silence. Hanging on the cross, he cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Matthew 27:46. Yet that silence did not mean separation. It meant salvation was being fulfilled. If silence wrapped the Son of God, then perhaps it too carries divine purpose, the sacred stillness before resurrection. In God's silence, you are invited to rest, not to reason. The night sky does not explain itself, yet it declares His glory. The same is true for your waiting. You may not understand what He is doing, but heaven does not need to explain for it to be faithful. Every unanswered prayer is an unopened seed, and silence is the soil where it grows. Let your heart soften instead of harden in this quiet. Still your mind and listen for the whisper beneath the silence. Sometimes God speaks not through words but through peace that makes no sense. In returning and rest you shall be saved. In quietness and trust shall be your strength. Isaiah 30:15. His stillness is not punishment, it is promise in disguise. Take comfort tonight knowing that your prayers are never lost in the dark. They rise even when you cannot feel them. The silence you dread is the same space where angels move and grace gathers. The shepherd is closer in the quiet than in the noise, and his love does not pause when his voice does. You are seen even when you cannot hear. So rest your heart now. Do not fight the silence. Let it cradle you. Let your soul breathe between the questions. The one who is silent is not gone. He is nearer than breath, preparing dawn from the darkness. Sleep, knowing this truth. God's silence is not the end of the story. It is the pause before His perfect answer. Chapter 16. The Guardian Angels. There is something deeply comforting in knowing you are never truly alone. Even when the room feels empty and night presses close, heaven has stationed its sentinels beside you. For He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. Psalm 91:11. These messengers of light do not rest. Their silent wings carry peace through every shadowed corner of your life. Imagine Daniel in the lion's den, surrounded yet untouched. He did not survive by strength, but by unseen presence. My God sent His angel, and He shut the mouths of the lions. Daniel 6:22. That same divine protection hovers near you tonight. You may not see them, but you can feel their calm, a warmth, a stillness, a knowing that you are safe within God's watch. Angels do not replace God's presence, they reveal it. They are His whispers made visible, His care made near. Their task is not to remove all danger, but to carry you through it. When the path grows dark, they guide each step toward light. When fear rises, they remind your soul that heaven still reigns. You are never unguarded, not even in sleep. Think of Elijah exhausted beneath the broom tree, ready to give up. An angel touched him and said, "Get up and eat." 1 Kings 19:5. The gesture was simple, but it restored his strength. Sometimes angels do not announce themselves. They arrive through kindness, a sudden peace, a word that finds you just in time. Their touch still revives weary hearts. The same God who commands the stars commands these protectors. Their loyalty is unwavering, their purpose clear, to serve those who belong to Him. Are not all angels ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation? Hebrews 1:14. You are one of those souls under divine assignment. Heaven's protection is not distant. It is active, surrounding, alive. As you lie down tonight, remember that the unseen world is not a myth. It is the reality behind peace itself. The gentle calm that begins to fill the room is not empty air. It is the nearness of God's care. The flicker of light, the sudden comfort in your chest, the quiet assurance that all will be well. These are signs of divine guardianship. You may face storms tomorrow, but angels do not flee at thunder. They walk with you through every fear, holding the line between harm and grace. When you cannot pray, they carry your silence to God. When you cannot see hope, they keep watch until morning returns. The night is not your enemy. It is their time to stand guard. So rest without fear. The heavens have not forgotten you. The same angels who sang at Christ's birth now sing softly over your rest. Their song is peace, their promise is presence. Sleep beneath their unseen wings, safe in the shelter of divine protection. For tonight and always, you are surrounded by the guardians of God. Chapter 17. The Strength in Weakness. There are nights when the soul feels fragile, when every breath seems like effort and every thought feels heavy. Yet it is in these moments that grace does its quietest, strongest work. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. God does not despise frailty, he dwells within it. What feels like breaking may only be the beginning of becoming. Paul, who carried great burdens, learned this mystery well. He prayed for the thorn in his flesh to be removed, but God answered with grace instead of escape. Strength did not come by removal of pain, but by the presence of peace. That same grace surrounds you now. You are not failing when you feel weak. You are being remade through divine power hidden in humility. The world measures strength by control and success, but heaven defines it by surrender. Real strength is not in how tightly you hold on, but in how freely you trust. God does not ask you to be unbreakable. He asks you to be open. When your heart yields to him, weakness becomes worship. What once hurt now becomes holy ground. There is a gentleness in God's way of strengthening you. He does not shout courage into your heart. He breathes it softly. Like a father steadying a trembling child, he lifts you without judgment. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Isaiah 40:29. His strength is not a burst of energy, but a steady river flowing beneath your fears. Think of Jesus in Gethsemane again, his body trembling under the weight of the cross to come. Even there, angels ministered to him, and his resolve grew not from power, but from love. He knows your exhaustion because he felt it. He knows your tears because he shed them. You do not suffer alone. You suffer beside the one who overcame through surrender. When you feel you have nothing left to give, God does his finest work. He turns exhaustion into endurance, fear into faith, despair into dependence. The hands that shape the stars also shape your struggle into beauty. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. Isaiah 40:31. Weakness is the runway for renewal. Close your eyes and release the pressure to be strong tonight. Let his strength replace your striving. Let his spirit breathe rest into your bones. You are not meant to carry everything. You are meant to be carried. The divine exchange happens here. Your weakness for his power, your burden for his grace, your unrest for his peace. As you drift towards sleep, remember this truth. Your weakness is not your flaw. It is your meeting place with God. He is not disappointed in your frailty. He is revealed through it. Rest now in the presence of the one who never tires, never leaves, never breaks. The night will pass, but his strength will remain, faithful, gentle, and eternal. Chapter 18. The Joy of Salvation. There is a joy that no circumstance can steal, a light that burns even in the darkest valley. It is the joy of being redeemed, of knowing that grace has rewritten your story. Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and grant me a willing spirit to sustain me. Psalm 51:12. These words from David are a reminder that salvation is not just rescue, it is renewal. It is joy returning to the weary heart. David knew what it was to fall, to fail, and to be forgiven. His repentance did not end in shame, but in song. When he said, "Create in me a clean heart, O God," Psalm 51:10, he was not asking to erase his past. He was asking for it to be transformed. That same grace that lifted him lifts you now. Your joy may feel dim, but it still flickers beneath the ashes. Salvation is not a single moment. It is a constant melody. Every breath you take in awareness of God's mercy is part of that song. Joy returns when you remember that you are already loved, already chosen, already free. The cross was not just a moment in history. It is a doorway into every moment of peace you have ever longed for. Think of the prodigal son walking home, afraid of rejection, rehearsing his apology. Before he could even speak, his father ran to meet him. Luke 15:20. That is the image of salvation. A God who runs, who embraces before you can explain. Joy begins there, in the arms of unconditional love, where the past dissolves into forgiveness and the heart learns to breathe again. Sometimes joy does not shout, it whispers. It comes not in laughter but in quiet gratitude, the awareness that you are no longer lost. Though you have not seen him, you love him. And even though you do not see him now, you believe in him and are filled with an inexpressible and glorious joy. 1 Peter 1:8. This is the joy that anchors faith when life trembles. If guilt has followed you into this night, let it end here. You are not defined by your mistakes, but by the mercy that has met them. God does not dwell on your failures. He delights in your return. His forgiveness is not reluctant. It overflows. Salvation is the daily reminder that you are never too far to come home again. Let your heart rest in that truth as you breathe slowly. The joy of salvation is not a passing emotion. It is a state of belonging. You are loved by a God who rejoices over you with singing. Zephaniah 3:17. Even in your silence, he sings. Even in your tears, he smiles. His joy covers every sorrow. His grace outlasts every grief. As sleep draws near, let joy settle like dawn on your soul. You are forgiven, you are cherished, you are whole. The night will cradle you gently in that truth. Salvation is your lullaby, grace your blanket, and peace your breath. Rest in the joy of being his, for what he redeems, he never releases. Chapter 19. The God Who Sees. There are moments when you wonder if anyone truly notices the quiet battles you fight, the tears no one else hears, the prayers that never leave your lips. But there is one who sees beyond what others miss. You are the God who sees me, said Hagar in the wilderness, Genesis 16:13. She was alone, misunderstood, forgotten by people, but not by God. His gaze found her in the desert, and it finds you now. Hagar's story reminds us that divine attention is not reserved for the powerful. It is drawn to the overlooked. When everyone else turned away, God called her by name. He did not wait for her to reach him. He came to her. That is what grace looks like, the Almighty stepping into the dust to comfort a weary heart. His sight is not distant. It is tender and near. You, too, are seen, not just in your victories, but in your weakness. Every sigh, every quiet endurance, every act of love that went unnoticed by others is recorded in heaven's memory. The eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their cry. Psalm 34:15. His attention is not fleeting, it is faithful. Sometimes being seen by God means being reminded of your worth when you've forgotten it. The world measures you by results. He measures you by resilience. You do not have to prove your value. You already bear His image. The same eyes that watch the stars come into being now rest upon you with affection, not judgment. You are His creation, His beloved. It is easy to feel invisible in a world that moves so fast. But God's vision reaches where human eyes cannot, into the places of your heart that long for acknowledgement. When He sees you, He does not merely observe, He understands. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. Psalm 139:4. There is comfort in being known so deeply. Let His gaze heal what shame has hidden. God does not look upon you to expose, He looks to embrace. His eyes are the beginning of restoration. Every scar He sees, He also redeems. When you turn toward Him, you are not met with condemnation, but compassion. His sight brings life, not fear. Close your eyes and imagine His light finding you, not to blind, but to bless. You are seen in your silence, in your struggle, in your smallest acts of faith. Nothing about you escapes His love. The same God who watched over Hagar now watches over you through the long night. His awareness is your assurance, so as you rest, let go of the fear of being unseen. You are fully known and endlessly loved. The God who sees you does not look away. He stays, He shelters, He sings over your heart. Sleep peacefully under His gaze, not the gaze of scrutiny, but of grace, for tonight and always you are seen by the eyes of mercy. Chapter 20. Perfect love casts out fear. Fear often comes quietly, wrapping itself around the heart like a shadow. It tells you stories of loss, of danger, of being alone. But fear cannot stay where love abides. There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear. 1 John 4:18. God's love is not fragile or distant. It is strong enough to silence the loudest panic, gentle enough to cradle a trembling soul. Peter once stepped out of the boat, eyes fixed on Jesus. But when the wind grew fierce, he began to sink. It wasn't the storm that defeated him. It was the moment he stopped looking at love. Still, Jesus reached out and caught him, saying, "Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid." Matthew 14:27. His hand remains stretched toward you, even when faith falters. Fear thrives in the unknown, but faith flourishes in relationship. The more you know God's heart, the less room fear finds within yours. Love is not an idea, it is a presence that surrounds and fills. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Psalm 27:1. When His love becomes your refuge, even the darkness loses its voice. Every fear carries a lie, that you are alone, unprotected or unworthy. But love tells the truth. You are never alone, always guarded, infinitely valued. God's love does not depend on your strength. It depends on His nature. It is steady as sunrise, constant as breath. The fear that once held you captive cannot survive under such light. Think of Jesus asleep in the boat while the storm raged. His calm was not ignorance. It was confidence in His Father. You too can rest in that same peace. Fear may roar, but it cannot reach the one who trusts in divine love. The waves that once frightened you become reminders of the one who commands them into calm. Take a slow breath and imagine His love surrounding you, a warmth that expands with every exhale. It reaches the hidden corners of your heart, driving out anxiety and doubt. Love does not argue with fear, it replaces it. It says, "Peace, be still," and the soul obeys. In that moment, you remember that you were never meant to live afraid. God's love is not fragile comfort. It is armor for the spirit. It defends, restores, and renews. The Lord is with me. I will not be afraid. Psalm 118:6. These words are not wishful thinking, they are reality. Perfect love is not learned, it is received. And once received, it reshapes everything you are. As night settles, let his love wrap you like a mantle. Fear may knock, but it will find no home in you. The heart filled with divine love is untouchable by darkness. Sleep without worry, for the one who loves you perfectly also guards you completely. In his love, there is no fear, only peace that never ends. Chapter 21. Bread for the journey. There are days when strength runs low and you wonder how you'll make it through another sunrise. Yet God never asks you to store up endless energy, only to trust him for today. Give us this day our daily bread. Matthew 6:11. Each morning, heaven bakes enough grace for what the day requires. Not too much, not too little, just enough for your soul to keep walking. In the wilderness, the Israelites awoke to manna scattered across the ground. It came with the dew, fresh every dawn. They could not hoard it or save it. They had to gather daily. Exodus 16:15-21. God was teaching them that peace comes from dependence, not abundance. The lesson remains. He will not fail you tomorrow, but he meets you in the now. Your heart hungers for more than food. It longs for assurance, for direction, for meaning. Jesus understood this when he said, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry." John 6:35. His presence nourishes what worry starves. Every word he speaks fills the emptiness inside, reminding you that provision is more than material. It is spiritual sustenance. You do not need to know how everything will unfold. You only need to gather the peace that lies before you. Gratitude for today's grace is the foundation of faith. The same God who provided in the wilderness still provides in your waiting. The manna may look different now, a kind word, an answered prayer, an unexplainable calm, but it is still heaven's gift. Sometimes the journey feels long because you carry more than what's yours. God never meant for you to carry tomorrow's burdens in today's basket. Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Matthew 6:34. Your task is to trust, to rest, to take the next faithful step. The road ahead will always open when it needs to. Picture Jesus breaking bread among his disciples. He thanked the Father first, even when the loaf was small. Then, in his hands, it multiplied. That is what happens when you place your scarcity in divine care. Gratitude turns little into enough. The same hands that broke the bread are holding your life, steady, gentle, and sure. When you feel weary, sit for a moment in the presence of the provider. Let your breath slow and your heart soften. Every inhale is a reminder that you are sustained by grace, not effort. God feeds both body and spirit with quiet mercy. You have never walked a day that he has not prepared provision for. As you close your eyes tonight, release the worries of tomorrow. You have your portion for this day: love, peace, and rest. Tomorrow will bring its own manna, fresh from his heart. Sleep knowing you will not go without. The same God who feeds the sparrow will feed your soul. You are nourished, you are cared for, you are never forgotten on this journey. Chapter 22. The Secret Place. There is a place the world cannot enter, a quiet sanctuary where the soul meets its maker. It is not built of stone or sound, but of stillness. Jesus spoke of it gently. When you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Matthew 6:6. The secret place is not hidden from you, it is hidden for you, a refuge reserved for those who seek him in silence. In this secret place you do not need to perform or explain. God already knows the words before you speak them. Your Father knows what you need before you ask him. Matthew 6:8. Here, your prayers are not measured by eloquence, but by honesty. You can bring your tears, your doubts, your quiet hopes, and still be met with love. This is the room where peace begins. The secret place is the opposite of noise. It asks you to slow down, to breathe, to remember. The world rewards speed and visibility, but heaven values quietness and sincerity. When you close the door, you close out the voices of expectation and fear. What remains is presence, sacred and real. It is in that silence that you rediscover who you are and whose you are. Moses found his secret place on the mountain, Elijah in a cave, and David in lonely fields. Each of them learned that solitude was not isolation but encounter. The secret place is not about escape. It is about intimacy. When you retreat into stillness, you step into conversation with the eternal. You begin to see that the God who rules galaxies also whispers your name. When life feels overwhelming, the secret place becomes your shelter. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. That word, rest, is the essence of prayer. You do not have to strive to reach God. He is already waiting in the quiet. You simply have to arrive with an open heart. Close your eyes now and imagine yourself stepping into that inner sanctuary. There is no hurry here, no judgment, only peace. The air feels lighter, the world softer. You are safe, unseen by chaos, fully known by love. Every breath becomes worship, every pause a prayer. In this secret space, time stands still and eternity feels near. Let this moment remind you that you can return to this place anytime. You don't need candles or temples, only stillness. When your thoughts race, when worry grows loud, whisper his name and step back inside. The door to the secret place never locks. It only waits. God's presence is the home your soul has been longing for. As night wraps around you, let your spirit retreat into that sacred quiet. You are not far from God, you are within his dwelling. The secret place is not just where you pray, it is where you belong. Sleep there tonight, beneath his shadow and within his peace, in the quiet heart of the Almighty. You are truly home. Chapter 23. Rivers in the Desert. There are seasons when life feels dry, when prayer feels unanswered and joy feels far away. Yet even in those barren places, God is not absent. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I'm making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. Isaiah 43:19. His promises do not depend on rain. They create their own rivers. The desert is not a punishment, it is a proving ground. It is where faith sheds its comfort and learns endurance. Israel wandered 40 years beneath a blazing sun, yet water followed them from a rock. Exodus 17:6. The God who led them through the wilderness leads you still. He does not only send rain, he brings life from impossible ground. Every heart knows its own wilderness, a time when hope feels buried under dust. But in those places, God whispers softly. The silence of the desert is where his voice is clearest. You do not need to escape the dryness. You need to trust that he can bloom something beautiful within it. Where you see emptiness, he sees potential for miracles. Think of Hagar again, lost in the wilderness with her son, ready to give up. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well beside her. Genesis 21:19. The water had been there all along. That is how grace works. It appears the moment you stop searching in panic and start seeing with faith. The well is never far from the weary. God's rivers are not loud. They begin as trickles beneath the soil of surrender. When you stop striving, you start hearing them. He turns the desert into pools of water. and the parched ground into springs. Psalm 107:35. That is his specialty, transformation. The wasteland becomes worship, and desolation becomes destiny fulfilled. Take a deep breath and imagine those rivers now, flowing softly through the landscape of your heart. Every drop carries renewal, washing away fear, reviving forgotten dreams. You are not withering, you are waiting for the hidden stream to rise. God's timing is not delay, it is design. Living water moves beneath your feet, unseen but unstoppable. There will come a day when the desert itself will sing, when what once felt lifeless will overflow with color and song. The dry ground of your heart will remember how to bloom. The wilderness and the solitary place shall be glad, and the desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose. Isaiah 35:1. That promise is not metaphor, it is mercy. As you rest tonight, know that God is already sending rivers into your dry places. You may not see the flow yet, but you will feel its peace. The desert is not the end of your story, it is where life begins again. Sleep gently beneath the sound of unseen waters. The God who brings rivers to the desert is bringing renewal to you. Chapter 24. The peace of forgiving yourself. There are wounds that no one else can see, the ones carved by your own hands, the words you wish you could take back, the choices that still echo. Yet grace reaches even there. There is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Romans 8:1. God's forgiveness is not partial, it is complete. The peace you long for begins when you accept that truth for yourself. Peter knew the pain of regret. He swore loyalty to Jesus, then denied him 3 times before the dawn. When the rooster crowed, shame burned through his heart. But after the resurrection, Jesus did not scold him. He restored him. "Do you love me?" he asked, not to wound, but to heal. John 21:17. Forgiveness began where self-condemnation ended. You cannot carry guilt and peace at the same time. One must yield to the other. God already chose which should remain: peace. The cross was never meant to be a symbol of your failures, but of his victory over them. When you keep punishing yourself, you live as though his sacrifice was not enough. But it was. It always will be. Forgiving yourself is not pretending you never fell. It is acknowledging that grace lifted you back up. As far as the east is from the west, so far has he removed our transgressions from us. Psalm 103:12. God does not rehearse your past, he redeems it. What once felt like ruin becomes testimony. Your scars become proof of his mercy, not reminders of shame. Take a slow breath and let grace settle over you like sunlight. The past cannot imprison what love has already freed. You are not meant to relive your failures, only to learn from them. Let the inner voice of accusation be silenced by the greater voice of truth. You are forgiven. Those words were spoken long before you asked. Peace comes when you allow yourself to be human, flawed yet loved beyond measure. The God who made you never expected perfection, only honesty. When you confess, you return home. When you forgive yourself, you stay there. Resting in his mercy is not weakness, it is worship. It is trusting that his grace is stronger than your guilt. Think of the woman caught in sin trembling before the crowd. Jesus stooped down, wrote in the dust and said, "Neither do I condemn you. Go now and leave your life of sin." John 8:11. He released her from judgment and gave her a new beginning. That same release is offered to you now. Mercy bends low and lifts you higher than shame ever could. So tonight, let the weight of the past fall away. You owe yourself the same compassion that God has already given. The peace of forgiving yourself is not earned, it is received. Sleep knowing you are cleansed, cherished, and chosen. Tomorrow begins with new mercy, and tonight you can finally rest. Not guilty, but free. Chapter 25. The Vine and the Branches. Life can sometimes feel like endless striving, reaching, producing, proving your worth through what you do. But peace is found not in striving, but in abiding. Jesus said, "I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing." John 15:5. The secret of strength is not effort, but connection. A branch never struggles to grow, it simply stays attached. The sap that flows through the vine gives it life, nourishment, and fruitfulness. So it is with your soul. The more you rest in Christ, the more His life flows through you. Your growth does not depend on willpower, but on willingness to remain, to receive, to trust. Abiding means learning to live slowly with God, to let your heart breathe in His rhythm. It is less about doing for Him and more about being with Him. Remain in me, as I also remain in you. John 15:4. Those words are an invitation to intimacy. God does not demand production. He desires presence. What grows from that place will always be good. There will be seasons when the gardener prunes you, when he cuts away what no longer serves your purpose. It may hurt, but it is holy work. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, He prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. John 15:2. Pain in His hands is never punishment, it is preparation. The fruit of abiding is peace, patience, love, and gentleness, not forced, but born naturally from connection. You cannot rush this process any more than a vine can force grapes to ripen. God's timing ripens character, not just outcomes. The more you trust Him, the sweeter the fruit becomes. The journey itself becomes sacred. Imagine the vine reaching toward you now, steady, strong, rooted deep in eternity. You are grafted into His love, safe and secure. Every fear, every weakness, every moment of dryness is met with His flow of life. He is the source that never empties. You are not striving to survive, you are learning to draw from abundance. As you rest tonight, let your heart return to that connection. Breathe slowly, remembering that the life of Christ moves through you even in silence. The work is already being done, unseen but certain. You are growing even as you sleep, because you belong to the vine. His strength has become your stability. So sleep in peace, beloved branch. You do not need to bear fruit tonight, only to remain. The gardener watches over you, and the vine sustains you. Tomorrow will bring new sunlight, and the life within you will rise again. Abide, and you will flourish. For in Him you are never cut off, only continually made whole. Chapter 26. The Power of Gentle Faith. Faith does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers. It is the quiet decision to trust God when everything still looks uncertain. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, Jesus said, you can say to this mountain, "Move from here to there," and it will move. Matthew 17:20. The smallest faith, when placed in the hands of a mighty God, becomes stronger than fear. Gentle faith is not loud or dramatic. It is steady. It keeps walking even when there is no applause. It does not demand proof. It remembers promises. Like a seed hidden beneath the soil, it grows in silence, watered by tears, warmed by hope. And one day it pushes through, alive, unstoppable, beautiful. That is how tears, warmed by hope. And one day it pushes through, alive, unstoppable, beautiful. That is how God works in those who wait. The world admires boldness, but heaven values endurance. Faith does not always conquer in battle. Sometimes it conquers by believing in the dark. For we walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. When your eyes cannot see a way, faith keeps moving anyway. Every step becomes an act of worship, every breath a declaration of trust. Think of the woman who touched the hem of Jesus' robe. Her faith was quiet, almost hidden. She did not speak. She reached, and that small reach changed her life forever. Mark 5:27-29. God does not measure the volume of your faith, but its direction. Even trembling belief is powerful when it moves toward Him. Gentle faith also knows how to rest. It does not need to force outcomes because it trusts in divine timing. Those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. Isaiah 40:31. Faith does not rush the process. It leans into it. It believes that the God who begins a good work will finish it, perfectly, patiently, fully. Sometimes your faith will look like waiting. Sometimes it will look like letting go. Both are sacred. God honors the kind of trust that surrenders, the kind that says, even if not, I will still believe. Gentle faith doesn't panic. It prays. It doesn't control. It clings. It doesn't fade under silence. It grows roots beneath stillness. Close your eyes and imagine that mustard seed now, resting in the soil of your heart. It may be small, but heaven watches over it. Each moment of trust is sunlight. Each prayer is rain. You are not faithless just because you feel afraid. You are faithful because you choose to trust anyway. The smallest seed still belongs to the greatest garden. So as you drift to sleep, let your soul rest in quiet belief. God is not asking for certainty, only surrender. He sees your faith even when it feels fragile, and He calls it enough. Rest knowing that what is small tonight will grow strong in His hands. For gentle faith moves mountains, one peaceful heartbeat at a time. Chapter 27. The God of Second Chances. Failure has a way of convincing us that our story is over. But grace whispers otherwise. Then the word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time. Jonah 3:1. Those words hold infinite mercy. God could have chosen someone else, yet He called Jonah again. The same voice that found him in disobedience now invited him back into purpose. That is the God you serve, patient, persistent, full of redemption. Jonah ran, not because he didn't know God, but because he did. He feared the wideness of God's mercy, the way it forgives those we think undeserving, including ourselves. But even in his rebellion, God pursued him. The storm did not come to destroy him, but to turn him back toward destiny. Sometimes grace arrives disguised as waves, steering us home through surrender. The God of second chances does not shame you for your detours. He uses them to deepen your faith. Every failure can become fertilizer for growth. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Lamentations 3:22-23. Each sunrise carries an unspoken truth. Yesterday's mistakes do not cancel today's mercy. Think of Peter, who denied Jesus 3 times but later became the rock of the church, or David, who fell yet found his way back through repentance and song. God's story is full of people who stumbled but stood again. What disqualifies you in your own eyes becomes the very place where grace writes its masterpiece. Redemption is God's favorite art form. You may think you've wandered too far, but His path always leads back. The shepherd never loses count of his sheep. He leaves the 99 to go after the one that wandered away. Matthew 18:12. You're not a lost cause, you are a beloved return. The journey back is not punishment. It's the proof of love that refuses to quit on you. Close your eyes and feel the warmth of that mercy. The God who began this story has not stopped writing. Every chapter of regret is being rewritten in grace. You are not starting over from nothing. You are starting again from wisdom. The lessons you learned in failure will guide you toward deeper peace and humility. God's second chances are not recycled opportunities. They are renewed purpose. He does not simply restore what was lost. He multiplies it. I will restore to you the years the locust has eaten. Joel 2:25. That is his promise, not just recovery, but abundance born of grace. What was broken will become blessing. What was wasted will bear fruit again. So rest tonight without regret. The story is not over, and you are not disqualified. The same voice that called Jonah still calls your name, not with anger, but with affection. You are seen, forgiven, and chosen once more. Sleep, knowing that mercy is awake, waiting to greet you at dawn. The God of second chances never stops believing in you. Chapter 28. The Crown of Peace. Peace is not just the absence of conflict. It is the quiet rule of God over the heart. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Philippians 4:7. This peace is not earned or explained. It is bestowed. It sits upon the soul like a crown, steady and luminous, even in the storms of life. The world offers temporary calm, but God offers eternal stillness. His peace is not a mood to maintain, but a kingdom to dwell in. When you choose to trust instead of fear, you place yourself beneath that crown. Every anxious thought that once ruled your mind begins to bow to divine authority. The heart learns to rest because it is reigned by love. Imagine Jesus standing before the sea of chaos, saying only, "Peace, be still." Mark 4:39. The waves obeyed instantly, yet the greater miracle was within the disciples. Their fear began to fade. That same command still echoes through your soul tonight. God does not always remove the storm. He transforms you into one who can rest through it. Peace is not weakness. It is strength wrapped in serenity. It takes courage to stay gentle in a world that shouts, to remain still when everything urges you to panic. But peace, like a crown, cannot be stolen, only surrendered. The more you yield to His Spirit, the tighter it fits, the brighter it shines. The Lord blesses His people with peace. Psalm 29:11. There are days when your thoughts feel wild, like wind through dry leaves. Yet God's peace is the calm center beneath it all. It does not argue with the noise, it simply outlasts it. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast, because they trust in you. Isaiah 26:3. That is His promise. A peace that guards, not just soothes. Take a breath and picture that peace settling over you. Soft, weightless, yet powerful. It is not apart from you. It is within you, placed there by the Spirit. The crown glows brightest in darkness because it reflects His light. You are not struggling toward peace. You are remembering it. It has been yours since the moment He called you His own. The crown of peace is not given once, but renewed daily. Each act of surrender polishes its shine. Each moment of gratitude strengthens its hold. You wear it not as a symbol of perfection, but of belonging. Wherever you go, peace goes with you, announcing silently that the Prince of Peace reigns within your heart. As you drift to sleep, feel that crown rest upon your spirit. No anxiety can dethrone it. No fear can shake it loose. It is the mark of those who have been loved beyond measure. Rest now under its quiet authority. The night will pass gently, for peace is watching over you. You are crowned in calm, and nothing can take it away. Chapter 29. The Blessing of Waiting. Waiting can feel like the hardest obedience. A silence that stretches too long. A prayer that seems unanswered. Yet within that stillness, something sacred grows. Those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. Isaiah 40:31. Waiting is not wasted time. It is preparation. God is shaping strength beneath the surface of your patience. Simeon waited his entire life to see the Messiah. Others may have forgotten the promise, but he held it close, trusting the God who had spoken. And one ordinary day, his faith met fulfillment in the arms of a child. Luke 2:25-32. The waiting was not in vain. It was the stage upon which glory appeared. So it will be for you in your own appointed time. God's timing rarely matches ours, but his timing is always mercy. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Ecclesiastes 3:11. Sometimes he delays because your heart is still being readied for the blessing. Sometimes he waits because he loves you too much to give you something too soon. In every pause, his purpose ripens. Waiting teaches trust, not the shallow kind, but the kind that breathes even in darkness. It loosens your grip on control and teaches your heart to listen. Like a seed buried in soil, your faith is growing unseen. The waiting is not emptiness, it is expectancy. You are learning to believe without proof, to rest without answers. When impatience rises, remember that even Jesus waited. He waited 30 years before his ministry began. He waited in prayer before every miracle, in silence before his accusers, and in the tomb before resurrection. Waiting is not weakness, it is divine rhythm. The Creator himself moves in seasons, not seconds. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Psalm 37:7. That stillness is not resignation, it is reverence. It is knowing that the God who began your story is not done writing. When you trust his timing, peace begins to bloom where worry once lived. You realize that delays are not denials, but directions toward something deeper. Close your eyes and let the pace of heaven steady your heart. The world rushes, but love never hurries. Every unanswered prayer tonight is a seed planted in eternity's soil. It will bloom when light and time meet in God's perfect plan. Your task is simply to rest in his faithfulness, even when you cannot see the path ahead. As you sleep, let go of your timelines and cling to his trustworthiness. The waiting itself is a blessing, the proof that God is working even when he seems silent. Morning will come, and with it, renewed strength. Rest in the pause, for the Lord is near. You are not behind. You are right where grace wants you to be. Chapter 30. The Whisper of Wisdom. There are moments when life feels like a riddle. Too many choices, too much noise, too little clarity. Yet God's wisdom rarely arrives in thunder. It comes as a whisper. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives generously to all without finding fault. James 1:5. Wisdom is not hidden to punish you. It waits to be received in stillness, not haste. Solomon understood this when he asked not for riches or power, but for discernment. God was pleased and granted him a wise and understanding heart. 1 Kings 3:9-12. The true mark of wisdom is humility, the awareness that your own understanding is not enough. In that awareness, the Spirit begins to teach, softly and faithfully, leading your heart before your mind can catch up. Wisdom often begins with wonder. It listens before it speaks, and pauses before it decides. It does not demand proof. It seeks peace. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 3:5. To walk in wisdom is to follow the gentle rhythm of trust, not rushing ahead, not looking back, but moving in step with divine timing. There are days when you will mistake silence for absence, but wisdom is growing there too. God speaks through waiting, through questions, through what you cannot yet explain. Each delay becomes instruction, each challenge a quiet tutor. The unfolding of your words gives light, it gives understanding to the simple. Psalm 119:30. His wisdom reveals itself like sunrise, gradual, warm, transforming. When fear pushes for quick answers, wisdom invites you to rest. You do not need to understand everything to move forward. You need only enough light for the next step. The wise heart does not panic when paths are dim. It knows that peace is the truest compass. God's wisdom will never lead you where His presence will not keep you. Think of Jesus speaking in parables, stories that asked for patience, reflection, and openness. The crowd heard words, the faithful heard meaning. Whoever has ears, let them hear. Matthew 13:9. Wisdom requires listening beyond the surface. The deeper you lean into His voice, the clearer life becomes, even when it remains mysterious. Close your eyes and listen now, not for answers, but for alignment. Wisdom is not something you possess, it is someone you walk with. The Spirit whispers truth in ways your heart recognizes before your mind does. Every quiet conviction, every moment of sudden peace, that is heaven's guidance disguised as calm. You are being led, even now. As you rest tonight, let wisdom's whisper settle into your spirit. You do not need to chase it. It already abides within you. God's instruction will meet you in the morning, gentle as light upon water. Sleep knowing that your steps are guided by the one who sees the whole path. The whisper of wisdom will keep you in perfect peace. Chapter 31. The Eternal Shepherd. There is no image more tender, nor more true, than that of the shepherd and his flock. From the beginning, God has led His people not as a ruler of fear, but as a guardian of love. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. Every step you take tonight rests beneath His watchful care. He guides not from afar, but beside you, whispering peace with every breath of the wind. A shepherd's strength is not in dominance, but in devotion. He knows each sheep by name, and none are too small to matter. When one wanders, He leaves the 99 to find it. Luke 15:4. That is the measure of divine love, personal, patient, and pure. Even when you lose your way, the shepherd never loses his direction toward you. In the quiet fields of faith, His presence becomes your safety. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Psalm 23:4. The shepherd's rod does not strike to wound, but to defend. His staff guides the heart back to peace. The valley may still be dark, but fear cannot dwell where love leads. The shepherd's voice is unlike any other, calm, steady, unmistakable. It cuts through confusion and calls you by name. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. John 10:27. Even when you cannot see Him, His voice is near, gently drawing you back to rest. In every season, He remains the same, faithful and kind. Think of how Jesus described Himself, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. John 10:11. No other love sacrifices so completely. His care does not end when the day grows long. It deepens in the night. You are never unguarded. The same hands that carried the cross now carry your heart. The shepherd's pasture is not always a place. It is a presence. When you find yourself restless or afraid, close your eyes and remember who leads you. The shepherd walks slowly, never rushing your healing. He waits until your breathing steadies and your trust returns. His pace is peace itself, matching each step to your strength. When this life feels uncertain, lift your eyes toward eternity. For the Lamb at the center of the throne will be their shepherd. He will lead them to springs of living water. Revelation 7:17. The story does not end in wandering. It ends in homecoming. The same shepherd who guides you now will one day guide you beyond all sorrow, into everlasting rest. So as the night surrounds you, know that you are not alone in the pasture of peace. The eternal shepherd keeps watch, his song woven through the stars. Sleep under his gaze, safe in his keeping. You are known, protected, and loved without end. The shepherd of your soul neither slumbers nor forgets. He only leads you home. Chapter 32. In his perfect peace. There comes a moment when the heart no longer strives, when faith and rest become the same breath. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. Isaiah 26:3. This is not the peace the world offers, fleeting and fragile. It is the peace that holds you steady in both joy and sorrow, in noise and silence alike. It is the peace of being wholly kept by God. Perfect peace does not mean a life without storms. It means a soul that no storm can shake. When Jesus slept through the tempest, his disciples panicked, but he remained calm. His stillness was not ignorance. It was intimacy with the Father. That same calm now invites you. Peace is not learned through control, but through surrender. It comes when you rest in the hands that never tremble. You have walked through valleys, waited in deserts, faced nights of silence, and yet here you are, still breathing, still believing. That is the miracle of peace. The Lord gives strength to his people. The Lord blesses his people with peace. Psalm 29:11. It is not something you achieve, it is something you receive. A gift freely given, waiting only to be trusted. When thoughts race, let peace answer. When fear whispers, let faith respond. Perfect peace is not passive, it is powerful. A guard that stands watch over your mind and heart. Philippians 4:7. It doesn't erase what hurts, it redeems it. It transforms chaos into clarity, pain into presence, worry into worship. Peace is the voice of heaven reminding you that God is still near. The mind that stays on God becomes a quiet garden. In that garden, worries lose their urgency and hope grows wild again. Every breath becomes prayer, every heartbeat a hymn. You are not striving for tranquility, you are returning to it. The Prince of Peace planted it in you long ago, and he tends it still. His peace is home. Close your eyes and picture that peace now, golden, soft, eternal. It fills every corner where anxiety once lived. It doesn't demand that you understand. It invites you to rest. The world outside may turn and change, but peace remains unbroken inside you. For the Spirit himself dwells there, humming heaven's calm through your soul. Let this truth settle deep. Peace is not far away. It is within reach, within breath, within faith. It has always been his desire to see you whole, unafraid and steady. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and give you peace. Numbers 6:24 and 26. That blessing is not temporary, it is eternal. Now rest in the fullness of his promise. The journey has led you here to stillness, to safety, to surrender. Every lesson, every tear, every prayer was leading you home to this, his perfect peace. Sleep under the shelter of that promise tonight. The world is quiet now, and God is near. Peace has found you, and it will never leave. As the night deepens, remember the one who calls you to rest. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. His invitation is not a command, but a comfort, a promise that you do not need to carry what he has already taken upon himself. Lay your thoughts beside his mercy now. Let his presence wrap you like the quiet air after rain, steady and pure. Peace is not far. It is within you, placed there by the shepherd who restores the soul. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. Psalm 23 to 2-3. Every breath you take tonight is a reminder that His care does not end when you close your eyes. You are held, guided, and guarded, surrounded by a love that never sleeps. When morning comes, the light will meet you with new mercy. Until then, be still and know that He is God. Psalm 46:10. All is well and all will be well, for His promises endure beyond the night. May your heart find rest in His faithfulness, your mind dwell in His calm, and your spirit abide in His eternal peace. May the peace of Christ guard your heart as you sleep.